7 or 8 of them come up there, all wanting this, wanting that. Uncle Mac went back in the house to get the shotgun. Well, there's ahead of him. Shot him in his doorway. Aunt Ella come out and tried to stop the bleeding. Uncle Mac all the while trying to get that shotgun. They just sat there on their horses, watching him die. Uncle Mac knew the score even if Aunt Ella didn't. And that was that, as they say. What you got ain't nothing new. This country's hard on people.
War, hate, violence, insanity. We see it on the news, we hear it from our neighbours, some of us experience it in our streets. It's everywhere we look, and with all this constant input telling us how doomed the world is, it's only natural for us to sometimes say, the world's gone mad. And no, it's not wrong to think that, it's just human nature. We as people are programmed to focus on the negatives because it helps us survive. The first reaction of our brain when we see anything is to think, is this a threat to me? And it will always lean more towards the negative. By constantly being on the lookout for dangers, it means we're quicker to respond to them, we're not caught off guard and have extra moments to prepare. So we look for threats in anything, are more likely to interpret neutral things as threats and see existing threats as more dangerous than they are. It's pessimism, helping us survive in the immediate but not thrive in the long term. But this reaction isn't as strong when we're young. It's as we get older, and that judgment happens more and more, that it becomes easier for our brains. So while we're young and start off more neutral, as we get older we become more negative, more cynical and more pessimistic, and what starts as a reaction becomes a character trait. Essentially, our brains are hardwired to think the world as a whole is a threat, and over time that idea gets reinforced. And as it does, it makes us think the world's gone mad. But the truth is, this is the world as it always has been. There have always been groups of people intent on spreading hate. There have always been people in power intent on only keeping themselves in power. There have always been thieves and liars and the mad. This isn't the world devolving, it's the world as it's always been. And the history books speak volume to that. Colonization, the slave trade, world wars, any period of history comes with its horrors, and it likely came with people also saying that the world's gone mad. But if everyone throughout history has said that, is the world going mad? Or is this just another turn of the wheel? It's an important question to answer because this negativity about the world can have a large impact on us psychologically. Most of the information we process is sorted into one of 3 categories: information about ourselves, information about other people, or information about the world in general. And while they are different topics, how we feel about one does affect the other. So if we don't feel hope about the world and feel a sense of helplessness about it, then we're likely to feel it regarding other things. Our work, our hobbies, our relationships, our passions, and even ourselves. It means we have less energy, less motivation, and less of a drive to get up every morning and complete our goals, all because of things that are out of our control. But it's important to acknowledge that just as there have always been parts of the world intent on tearing itself apart, there have always been people intent on keeping it together. The media has a habit of making things appear more negatively than they actually are. A majority of the stories they post only discuss the doom and gloom of the world, whatever wars are going on, what health crisis is coming your way, and why you shouldn't trust something. While these things are important to know about, it's not all that's happening. It's just the headlines the news knows will sell. In reality, there are a lot more good things happening than we see. Every day there are public figures speaking out for issues, scientists making breakthroughs, and normal people who do the right thing even though it's hard. But these differences aren't the things the media or we as people focus on, even though it could make such a difference. Even though hope could make such a difference. In hope, we can start to work through those survival behaviours and train our brains to stop seeing the world as just potential threats. In doing so, it breaks those patterns of negativity. It gives our minds a rest and the chance to focus on our well-being instead of just our survival. Instead of thinking about what we can do to keep ourselves alive, we can think about what we can do to make ourselves happy. Instead of feeling the stress of keeping ourselves safe, we can feel the relief in being comfortable. Instead of just trying to be here tomorrow, we can try to enjoy that tomorrow. And in doing so comes a lot more joy, motivation and comfort, which we all deserve. Overall, the world isn't evolving, it isn't going mad. This is just the world as it always has been. What we're seeing is just a turn of the wheel made worse by our human nature to see the world as a threat. But it doesn't have to be that way. Instead of obsessing over the negatives, we can start to focus on the positives. We can focus on what people are doing right and what we're doing right. And it's more than we think. So don't accept that the world has gone mad. Accept that this is just another day, and start to think about what you want to do with that fact for tomorrow.